Spending hours on end researching glyphs and artifacts, he tries to make sense of this mysterious land and its history. Most of the days it was hard to see the meaning behind the glyphs, but then there were these moments when everything started to click.
To gain wisdom, observe the stars as they come and go, value silence, and eat the rotten shoe.
Hello guys, it's Eleni and welcome to another video of the Expedition Leader series. In this series, we talk about the characters of the expansion for Arnak, how they play, their special abilities, and of course, some strategy tips and tricks. Today, we're talking about the Professor. The Professor is a researcher whose passion lies in studying the language and cultures of lost civilizations, and of course, the newly discovered island of Arnak is perfect for that. His academic connections give him access to a wider range of artifacts found on the island. Compared to the other three leaders that we've seen already, the Captain, the Falconer, and the Baroness, the Professor is a little bit more challenging to play. He focuses on the artifacts, and the artifacts have effects that are usually more complex, giving players a wider range of choices to deal with. His difficulty is medium compared to other leaders, and he's best for slightly more experienced players that are more comfortable with deck building and optimization. As a true professor, he has his old and trusty suitcase that can store tablets and compasses which can be used under certain circumstances throughout the game. He also has access to the private university archives with artifacts that only he can purchase. Similarly to the Captain and the upcoming Explorer, the Professor has already appeared on the base box. His outfit is based on the Western interwar fashion and well suited for exploring the jungles of Arnak while staying classy at the same time. On the player board art, we found the visuals for the Professor's surroundings quite fast. We wanted his palette to be more in tones of white and grey to match the tablets. On initial concept, his character was standing, but we quickly realized that it looked more natural when he was sitting while examining one of the artifacts he found. Fun fact, the Professor is the only leader who is sitting down on his player board. Maybe being a researcher is a tiring thing, or maybe there aren't that many spots to sit down in the world of Arnak. As mentioned before, the Professor has a suitcase token that should be placed near your player board. In this suitcase, you will gain and store tablets and compasses that you will be gaining throughout the game. And how will you get resources for your suitcase? There are special suitcase effects indicating that you should gain the shown resource to your suitcase and only there. You may never place the tokens from the suitcase effect amongst the other resources in your supply. The tokens in the suitcase can only be spent for artifacts. More specifically, the compasses can be used only for buying artifacts, and similarly, the tablets can be used only to pay for an artifact cost when playing the artifact from your hand. Tablets from your suitcase can never be upgraded with the upgrade effect. The Professor will also get bonus resources, tablets or compasses at the start of rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5. These resources will go straight to the suitcase, so they can only be used on artifacts. At the start of the game, you should place the indicated tokens on the round tracker above the card row, so you don't forget to take them. Compasses on numbers 2 and 4, and tablets on 3 and 5. Additionally, the Professor has an archive of artifacts at his disposal. At the start of the game, you will draw the top 3 artifacts from the deck and place them face up near your player board. These artifacts make up your private archive. Whenever you're taking the buy an artifact action, you may buy either from the card row, as usual, or from this archive. The other players do not have access to this archive, so they cannot take artifacts from it. The first time you buy all 3 cards from the archive and it becomes empty, you will gain a compass to your suitcase and you refill the archive with 3 new artifacts from the top of the deck. It is not possible to refill the archive in any other way, and this refill happens only once per game. The Professor's unique blue idol effect gives the player a coin, an option to exchange one of their resources for a more valuable one, and a compass for the suitcase. And what about the Professor's starting hand? He starts with 2 fear cards as usual, a funding card, and these 3 more special cards. Preservation gives you either a compass or the chance to upgrade one of your resources. With Arnacology, you gain a compass and you may swap one of your artifacts from your archive with the one in the card row, so you can only do this if your archive is not empty. And last, we've got the linguistics. With this card, you gain one of the effects based on the number of artifacts in your play area. Any artifact in your play area counts, so even those you bought this round can contribute to this reward. Artifacts from your archive, on the other hand, are not in your play area and do not count. With 0 artifacts, you just gain a coin. With 1, you choose either the coin or a compass to place on your suitcase, and with 2 or more, you choose any of the 3 options. And of course, now that you know the gameplay of the Professor, we've got some strategy tips for you. It goes without saying that it's important to buy artifacts when playing as the Professor. You want to prioritize buying the artifacts from your archive so you can get the extra compass early. The Arnacology card is a great tool to manipulate your archive to achieve just that. The tokens in your suitcase have no use outside of being used for artifacts, so they will go to waste if you don't use them effectively. Try to avoid finding yourself in round 5 with 3 or more unused tablets in your suitcase and no artifacts in hand to use them for. Ideally, you will use your linguistics card for the 3rd effect every time starting from round 2. Try to make good use of this card and use it to its full potential, gaining 2 resources much earlier than other leaders with their starting cards. Sometimes it can be interesting to consider the option of buying 2 artifacts costing 2 compasses each and use the 3rd linguistics effect in round 1. Any card that generates compasses or works with artifacts is good for the Professor, as you can buy better and more expensive artifacts. Precision Compass and Whip are great cards, for example. However, don't get deceived by Shovel. Artifacts obtained with it will not count towards the linguistics card, and you won't be able to use tablets from your suitcase to use the artifacts in later rounds. Last but not least, you will spend less compasses to explore early, so you will rely on other players' discoveries a bit more than usual. In rounds 2 and 3 especially, try to visit the sites discovered by your opponents in previous rounds before they do. So that was the Professor. We have started delving a bit deeper into the strategy of the more complex leaders now, so we would love to know your tactics when playing with them. Let us know in the comments if you have found any other paths to victory when playing with the Professor, and I will see you next week with more tips and tricks with the Explorer.